The global refrigerator market is worth $110 billion a year. Samsung, LG, Whirlpool, Bosch, Electrolux, Haier, boxes that sit in kitchens on every continent, trusted to run silently for decades. They used to. A refrigerator built in 1985 is still running in garages from Texas to Poland to Sao Paulo. The one you bought 3 years ago has a clock on it. Here is the engineering they changed, the repair system they built around the failure, and the 3 brands that still build to last. Settlement figures, technical service bulletins, not opinion, the paper trail. Samsung put a compressor in 60 million refrigerators that it knew had a documented failure rate. The compressor in question is the linear inverter compressor, installed across Samsung's French door and bottom freezer lines, sold globally from 2015 onward. Linear inverter compressors run on a different mechanical principle than conventional compressors. The piston moves back and forth on a magnetic field instead of rotating. Samsung marketed this as quieter, more energy efficient, and longer lasting. The warranty Samsung attached to this compressor was 10 years. That warranty was the tell. The linear inverter compressor failure cases that did surface resulted in a class action settlement approved in 2021 covering Samsung refrigerators purchased between 2014 and 2021 in the United States. The settlement covered repair costs, replacement units, and cash payments depending on failure type. The class covered millions of units. Samsung admitted no defect. The compressors kept shipping. The settlement terms expired. The refrigerators kept failing. A class action that covers past purchases and admits nothing, changes nothing about the product on the shelf today. The repair economics around a Samsung refrigerator failure are the mechanism that makes this a system, not an accident. A Samsung control board replacement runs between $250 and $400 in parts alone. A Samsung evaporator fan motor is $80 to $150. Labor on a refrigerator diagnosis and repair runs $100 to $150 per hour in most markets globally. A total repair bill of $500 to $700 on a refrigerator that originally cost $1,200 creates the same financial decision every time: repair or replace. Samsung knows this math. Every major appliance manufacturer knows this math. The repair to replace threshold is not a consumer discovery. It is a product design parameter. LG built a different version of the same problem. LG's linear compressor, separate from Samsung's linear inverter design, was installed across LG refrigerators sold globally from 2009 onward. A class action filed in United States federal court and settled in 2023 covered LG refrigerators with linear compressors purchased between 2014 and 2019. The settlement fund reached $150 million, one of the largest appliance class action settlements in recorded history. $150 million. LG admitted no defect. The linear compressor remained in production. It is in refrigerators on shelves right now. The LG linear compressor failure mode is specific and documented. The compressor loses refrigerant charge through a leak that develops at the compressor weld point, the seal where the refrigerant line meets the compressor body. Refrigerant loss is gradual. The refrigerator cools less efficiently. The compressor runs longer to compensate. The longer runtime accelerates wear. The owner notices the refrigerator is not as cold as it used to be. Food spoils. The diagnosis requires a technician. The repair requires a compressor replacement that costs, in parts and labor, between $800 and $1,200 on a refrigerator that originally cost $900 to $1,500. The math produces replacement. LG counted on the math. What LG and Samsung both understood, and what Whirlpool has known since at least 2007, is that the refrigerator's death is not the product's failure. It is the product's final revenue event. A refrigerator that runs for 25 years generates one purchase. A refrigerator that fails in 5 to 7 years and sits at the repair to replace threshold generates 2 purchases in the same time frame, with a repair attempt that generates diagnostic revenue before the consumer chooses replacement anyway. The revenue model requires the failure. The failure is not a quality problem that escaped notice. It is the output of a specific engineering decision made at the component specification stage. Whirlpool's version of this decision is documented in technical service bulletins issued between 2007 and 2015, covering Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and Amana refrigerators. All the same product, all built on the same platform, all sold under different brand names at different price points to create the illusion of choice. The specific failure Whirlpool's own service bulletins document is the adaptive defrost control board. Refrigerators defrost on a cycle. The heating element activates, melts frost off the evaporator coils, and the refrigerator returns to cooling. The adaptive defrost control board regulates this cycle based on usage patterns. Whirlpool's control boards across this product family fail by losing the ability to initiate the defrost cycle. Frost builds on the evaporator coils. Airflow drops. The refrigerator warms. The freezer follows. The owner calls a technician. The technician defrosts the coils manually, replaces the control board, and charges $200 to $400. The board fails again in 18 to 36 months. Whirlpool knew this from the service bulletins. The bulletins told technicians how to fix the failure. They did not tell Whirlpool to fix the board. The Maytag name is worth a specific sentence here because Maytag built its entire brand identity on the image of a repairman with nothing to do. That repairman, the Maytag repairman, running in advertising from 1967 to 2014, was the brand's promise. These machines never break. Whirlpool acquired Maytag in 2006 for $1.7 billion. The repairman retired from advertising in 2014. The same control board that fails in the Whirlpool goes into the Maytag. Different badge, same platform, same failure mode, same service bulletin. The repairman had nothing to do because the machine was built to last. The machine stopped being built to last in 2006. The repairman retired 8 years later. The timing is not a coincidence. Bosch refrigerators carry a price premium of 30 to 50% over equivalent Whirlpool or LG models in markets from Germany to Brazil to the United States. That premium is positioned as a quality signal. The Bosch failure that the premium is supposed to prevent is the Bosch refrigerator ice maker failure, documented extensively in consumer reports and technician service records across North America and Europe from 2018 onward. The ice maker assembly in Bosch French door models fails at the water inlet valve, a plastic component that cracks under thermal cycling, allowing water to leak into the freezer compartment and refreeze in locations that block the drawer mechanism. The repair cost is $300 to $500 on a refrigerator that costs $2,000 to $3,000. The thermal cycling that cracks the plastic inlet valve is not an unusual condition. It is called winter in every country where Bosch sells refrigerators. A plastic component that fails under the temperature variations that occur in normal use in a product positioned as premium quality at a premium price is not a design oversight. It is a component specification decision that Bosch's engineering team reviewed and approved. The right to repair dimension of this story runs across every brand name so far, and it is the mechanism that converts a product quality problem into a financial extraction system. In 2021, the United States Right to Repair Executive Order directed federal agencies, including the FTC, to address anti-competitive repair restrictions. In 2024, the European Union's Right to Repair Directive went into force, applying across all EU member states, including Germany, France, Poland, and every other European market where these brands operate. The directive requires manufacturers to provide spare parts, repair manuals, and diagnostic tools to independent repairers. It requires parts availability for 10 years after a product's final sale. It covers refrigerators explicitly. Manufacturers lobbied against it for 5 years. They lost. The directive passed. Implementation timelines extend to 2026 for full compliance. What that timeline means in practice. Between now and full implementation, a refrigerator that fails in a European household may still face the same repair barriers that existed before the directive passed. Proprietary diagnostic tools that only authorized service centers carry. Components that are available in theory but back-ordered by 6 to 8 weeks in practice, a wait time that pushes most consumers past the decision threshold and toward replacement. The law changed. The supply chain did not change overnight. The consumer in Warsaw or Berlin buying a refrigerator today is buying into a transition period where their legal rights on paper may not match their practical options. When the control board fails at month 42, if you value documented industry truth, subscribe and drop your country in the comments. Every manufacturer named in this script has faced regulatory action on at least 2 continents. Now back to what you actually do about it. Electrolux, the Swedish manufacturer that owns the Frigidaire brand in North America and sells under the Electrolux name across Europe and South America, documented a specific compressor failure across its French door refrigerator lines sold between 2016 and 2022. The failure involves the variable speed compressor losing lubrication due to oil migration, a condition where the compressor oil separates from the refrigerant charge and pools in the evaporator rather than returning to the compressor. Without adequate lubrication, the compressor wears internally at an accelerated rate. Electrolux issued a service bulletin acknowledging the oil migration issue. The bulletin instructed technicians to replace the compressor and flush the refrigerant lines. Compressor replacement with refrigerant recovery and recharge costs between $700 and $1,100. Electrolux's standard warranty covers the compressor for 5 years. The oil migration failure typically presents between years 3 and 5. The timing places the failure inside warranty for some units and just outside warranty for others. Warranty timing that reliably places the most expensive failure at the warranty boundary is not a statistical accident. It is an actuarial calculation. Haier is the brand that needs to be named here because Haier is now the largest appliance manufacturer in the world by volume, owning GE appliances in North America. The brand sold under the GE name in American kitchens, as well as Fisher and Paykel in Australasia, and selling under the Haier name across Europe, South America, and Asia. When a consumer in Sao Paulo buys a GE refrigerator, they are buying a Haier product. When a consumer in Warsaw buys an appliance under the GE licensed brand, they are in Haier's supply chain. Haier acquired GE appliances in 2016 for $5.4 billion. The GE brand carries 60 years of American manufacturing reputation. The product coming out of that brand name today carries the quality control standards of a company that competes primarily on price across developing markets. Haier refrigerators have documented failures in the PCB, the printed circuit board, due to capacitor quality. The capacitors used in Haier and GE appliance refrigerators, built between 2017 and 2022, use electrolytic capacitors rated for 85 degrees Celsius. The temperature inside a refrigerator's control board compartment during normal operation regularly reaches 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. The gap between operating temperature and rated temperature is the safety margin. A 25 to 35 degree margin sounds adequate. It is not, because capacitor lifespan in practice degrades exponentially as operating temperature approaches the rated maximum. And because the compressor heat that the board sits above adds radiant heat that the ambient temperature measurement does not capture. Capacitors failing in Haier and GE appliance refrigerators between years 4 and 7. Control board replacement at $200 to $400. Same math, same outcome, same decision. Miele is the first name. Miele is a German manufacturer that has never been acquired by a holding company, is still family-owned, and tests every product it ships to a 20-year standard. Not 10 years, not the industry standard 7 to 10-year design life, 20 years. Miele publishes this standard. The compressor Miele uses in its refrigerators is sourced from Sekop, the Danish compressor manufacturer that also supplies marine refrigeration, equipment that must run without failure in environments far more demanding than a kitchen. Miele refrigerators are sold in North America, across Europe including Germany and Poland, in South America including Brazil, and in over 100 markets globally. The price premium over Samsung or LG in equivalent configurations is 40 to 60%. On a 20-year lifespan versus a 5 to 7-year lifespan, the Miele costs less per year of operation before accounting for the replacement purchase you did not make. Miele makes proprietary components available for spare parts for a minimum of 15 years after a product's final production date, exceeding the EU's new 10-year requirement voluntarily before the law required it. Liebherr is the second name. Liebherr is a Swiss-German manufacturer, also privately held, that builds refrigerators and freezers for both residential and laboratory use. A company that makes equipment for pharmaceutical cold storage where a compressor failure means lost medication. The tolerance for failure in laboratory refrigeration is zero. Liebherr does not make one product for laboratories and a cheaper product for kitchens. The same engineering standards apply across both lines. Liebherr refrigerators use no-frost systems with triple-chamber airflow that eliminates frost buildup mechanically without relying on an adaptive defrost control board, the specific component responsible for the Whirlpool and Maytag failure pattern described earlier. No board failure. Liebherr is sold across Europe, including Germany, France, and Poland, in South America, including Brazil and Argentina, and in North America. Independent repair technicians confirm Liebherr parts are available, listed with part numbers, and shippable without authorization codes. The third name is Panasonic. Panasonic refrigerators are the dominant market presence in Japan, Southeast Asia, and are sold across South America and parts of Europe. Panasonic does not lead the North American market. The brand's refrigerator line is less prominent there than in other regions, but in a global script covering Sao Paulo, Berlin, Warsaw, and markets across Asia and South America, Panasonic belongs here. Panasonic uses its own inverter compressor technology, developed internally and refined across 30 years of production. The Panasonic inverter compressor carries a 10-year warranty, the same duration as Samsung's, but the distinction is that Panasonic's failure rate on this compressor in the field is documented by independent repair data as significantly lower than the Samsung linear inverter in equivalent age ranges. The specific engineering difference is the lubrication system. Panasonic's compressor uses a rotary design with a dedicated oil return mechanism that actively returns lubricant to the compressor during every cycle. Oil migration, the failure mode that destroyed Electrolux compressors, is mechanically prevented rather than managed through a service bulletin after the failure occurs, solving the problem in the design instead of in the warranty terms. That distinction is the entire argument of this script. The refrigerator sitting in your kitchen right now was not designed to last as long as the one it replaced. That is not cynicism. It is the output of a specific meeting at a specific company, where an engineer presented a component specification and a financial officer approved a cheaper version because the replacement revenue math made the warranty cost acceptable. That meeting happened at Samsung. It happened at LG. It happened at Whirlpool in 2006 when Maytag's nameplate went onto Whirlpool's platform. It happened at Haier when GE Appliances moved into a volume manufacturing supply chain. The engineers in those meetings knew the lifespan they were approving. The financial officers knew the repair to replace threshold they were counting on. The only person in that equation who did not know was the one paying for the refrigerator. $150 million from LG says the court agreed.